The story begins with a voice warning about a dangerous monster named Mountain King, who resides deep within the mountain. Though the monster is currently asleep, anyone who ventures too close will never return. Furthermore, if the princess of the kingdom, who lives in the forest, isn't married before her 18th birthday, the monster will wake and take her away. As the scene shifts, we meet the kingdom's princess, Christine, who is about to turn 18. The king is desperate to find her a husband before time runs out. One day, a prince named Frederick arrives from a nearby kingdom to seek her hand in marriage. He begins telling exaggerated tales to impress her, which, though they convince the king and others, don't fool Christine. She sees through his lies and refuses his proposal, but the king insists, pressuring her to marry him. Frustrated, Christine runs away from the palace on horseback and heads into the forest. When the king finds her room empty, he panics and begins searching for her. Meanwhile, we meet Aspen, a young boy gathering food in the forest. As he crosses a bridge, he bumps into Christine, causing her to fall into the water. Aspen hears her and quickly extends a hand to help her, but instead, Christine falls into the water as well. Afterward, Aspen introduces himself, but Christine isn't interested in his name. Hungry, she accepts his offer of food and devours everything he has. As she prepares to leave, Aspen asks her name, but Christine only says, "If fate allows, we will meet again." She then disappears into the forest, and Aspen heads home. At home, Aspen is greeted by his brothers, Pierre and Paul, who are waiting for him. Their father soon arrives and asks Aspen where the food is. Aspen tries to explain what happened in the forest, but his family doesn't believe him. His father scolds him for failing at the one task he was given, and Aspen apologizes. Later, his father, Pierre, and Paul go to the market for supplies, leaving Aspen behind to watch the house. That night, Aspen sits by the fire when he hears ominous sounds from the forest. Panicking, he grabs his sword and begins practicing. However, his sword accidentally causes a fire to break out in the house. Aspen tries to extinguish the flames, but it's no use, and the entire house burns down. Elsewhere, Christine, now on horseback, is lost in the forest. Her horse throws her off, and she begins to hear the same frightening sounds Aspen did. Trying to escape, she runs, only to be ambushed and kidnapped. The next morning, Aspen's family returns to find nothing but ash. They are shocked and confused, especially when they realize all their savings and Aspen's mother's only photograph were lost in the fire. Aspen, fearful, tells his father that he saw the Mountain King and that it was the cause of the fire. Though his father is angry at first, the destruction of their home calms him, and he realizes they have nothing left. At that moment, Frederick arrives with his soldiers, searching for Christine. He asks Aspen's father if he's seen the princess, but Aspen's father denies it. However, Frederick notices Aspen's nervous behavior and becomes suspicious. He threatens Aspen with a sword, but is interrupted by Aspen's father, who claims that Aspen is simply mad and believes he's seen monsters. Frederick laughs this off and offers a reward to anyone who helps him find Christine. He promises great riches and even the title of king for the person who locates her. Frederick and his soldiers leave, and Aspen's father turns to Pierre and Paul, telling them they must find Christine to claim the reward and rebuild their life. He sends them off to search, then tells Aspen that he can go wherever he likes, but must never return. Heartbroken, Aspen sneaks after his brothers because, despite his father's words, he too wants to find the princess. Aspen notices a broken mirror on the ground and picks it up, thinking it might be useful later. After walking a little further, he hears a woman's voice, seemingly asking for help. Aspen wants to help, but Pierre insists they shouldn't waste time, as they need to focus on finding the princess. However, Aspen decides to leave his brothers and heads toward the voice. After walking a short distance, he finds an old woman who looks like a witch, stuck between two pieces of wood with her nose trapped. Aspen approaches her and helps remove the wood, freeing her. The woman looks at him and asks, "Who are you and what are you doing here in the forest?" Aspen replies, "I'm searching for the princess." Hearing this, the witch says, "The princess must have been taken by the demon." Aspen grows worried, and the witch tells him that the only way to save her is by killing the demon with a magical sword that lies beneath the lake. Aspen asks how he can find this sword, and the witch gives him a magical map that reveals the path to anywhere in the world. However, when Aspen looks at the map, it's blank. The witch explains that he must make a wish to the map, and it will then show him the way. After giving him the map, the witch disappears into the forest, and Aspen continues his journey. As he walks, he stumbles upon the princess's jewelry and notices a large claw mark on the ground. The scene then shifts to the king, who is heartbroken over his missing daughter. His manager arrives with news that they have found the remains of the horse the princess had with her, along with a large tooth. The king now believes the story of the Mountain King and realizes his daughter is in great danger. Meanwhile, the princess, Christine, regains consciousness and finds herself in a cave. She tries to escape, but a massive hand reaches into the cave and offers her meat to eat. Terrified, she hesitates, but eventually takes the food. Elsewhere, Aspen's brothers, Pier and Pal, are moving forward and come across a basket full of golden apples. Hungry, they eat them, and they taste delicious. Soon after, some fairies appear, luring them into a cave where they are treated to more food. The fairies engage them in conversation and continue to offer them apples. Aspen, still following the magical map, reaches a dead end and is unsure of which way to go. Suddenly, he notices another golden apple and eats it. Upon doing so, a cave door opens in front of him. Inside, he finds his brothers enjoying food with the beautiful fairies. One of the fairies invites Aspen to eat, but when he looks at the food, it appears to be covered in worms. He realizes that the fairies are actually witches in disguise. Aspen panics and realizes his brothers are in danger. One of the fairies offers him an apple, but instead of eating it, Aspen drops it to the ground. The moment the apple hits the floor, the witch's magic breaks and their true forms are revealed. Aspen rushes to his brothers, warns them, and leads them out of the cave. As they escape, the cave door closes behind them. Once outside, Aspen tells his brothers that just as the witches were real, the demon must also be real. After seeing this, Pier and Pal start believing in the demon's existence. The three brothers continue their journey and eventually reach an inn. Hungry and unable to control his appetite, Pal convinces Aspen to go into the inn with him. Inside, Pal orders a large amount of food. Meanwhile, Frederick and his men are also at the inn. Aspen secretly asks the map where the magical sword is located, and the map shows him a path inside the inn. One of Frederick's men notices Aspen and informs him about him. Frederick then approaches Aspen and asks, "Do you know anything about the princess or the magical map?" "If you tell me, I'll give you money," Frederick said, trying to bribe Aspen. Pier signaled to Aspen, encouraging him to share everything so they could get the money. But Aspen replied firmly, "You don't love the princess. You just want her kingdom, so I won't give you the map, nor will I tell you anything." Hearing this, Frederick angrily tried to attack Aspen. However, Aspen quickly grabbed the food from the table and threw it at Frederick's face. Pier and Pal also helped Aspen, but Frederick overpowered him and knocked him down. During the struggle, Frederick accidentally stepped on the food of a large man sitting nearby. This enraged the man, who picked Frederick up and threw him away. Taking advantage of this distraction, Aspen and his brothers quickly escaped. But Frederick was still pursuing them. The three brothers ran until they reached a cliff with a waterfall. Frederick soon caught up with them, but Aspen cleverly protected the map and, with his brothers, jumped into the waterfall. After they surfaced, Pier was furious and blamed Aspen for everything. He angrily said, "It would have been better if you weren't part of our family." This led to a heated argument between the brothers, but Pal stepped in, trying to stop them. In a fit of anger, Pier took the map from Aspen, saying, "I'll lead the way from here," and the three continued their journey. On the way, Aspen found a bearskin and decided to keep it. The scene then shifts to Christine, who is planning something. When the demon tries to touch her, she strikes his hand with a knife. Enraged, the demon picks her up and, upon seeing her face for the first time, throws her back into the cave. Meanwhile, Aspen continues to follow the map, and soon they arrive at a place shrouded in dense fog, so thick that they couldn't see anything. Aspen gets separated from his brothers. Pier and Pal are soon confronted by Frederick and his men, who ask them where Aspen is. Pier and Pal lie, saying, "Aspen is dead." But Frederick doesn't believe them because he knows Aspen has the magical map. Aspen, meanwhile, pushes forward, crossing the thick fog and eventually reaches the lake the map had pointed to. He bravely dives into the cold water. But he is not alone in the lake. Some crocodiles attack him. Aspen fights them off with the magical sword and manages to escape. Moving on, Aspen sees his brothers imprisoned by Frederick and his men, and Frederick now has the map, which he took from Pier. Aspen watches them from a distance, then remembers the bearskin and forms a plan. Wearing the bearskin, Aspen approaches them, attempting to mimic the demon's voice. The group is frightened, but Aspen, unable to see clearly inside the skin, stumbles and falls. His disguise is revealed, and Frederick angrily grabs him. Frederick consults the map and asks it for directions to the demon's cave. After receiving the instructions, Frederick prepares to head there. Aspen, now realizing Frederick's true intentions, asks, "What will you do with the princess?" Frederick answers coldly, "I only want her kingdom. After marriage, I'll kill her." Aspen is shocked by this response. Frederick then forces Aspen and his brothers to go with him towards the demon. On the way, they stop to eat, but the terrifying roar of the demon echoes from afar. Hearing it, Frederick and his men panic and start running. Aspen and his brothers, too, are frightened by the demon's roar and, with the help of a rock, manage to cut the ropes binding them. Meanwhile, the demon arrives where Frederick's men are running, catching one of them and devouring him. Frederick and one of his men climb a tall tree, hoping to escape. When the demon reaches the tree, Frederick pushes his companion off the tree to save himself, allowing the demon to eat the man. The demon, however, soon realizes that Frederick is still in the tree, and it starts shaking the tree violently. Terrified, Frederick tries to climb higher but is caught by the demon. The scene shifts to Aspen and his brothers, who are hiding near a small cave. The demon arrives, grabs Pal, and carries him away. Aspen is devastated, feeling responsible for everything that has happened. It wouldn't have been this way if the brothers hadn't been so different, or if the whole incident with the demon hadn't happened. At that moment, Pierre, who was a bit more sensible, reassured Aspen and told him that it wasn't the time to cry, as they had to work together to save Paul. The two brothers decided to defeat the demon to save Paul. Meanwhile, the demon had brought Frederick and Paul into his cave. The cave was very dark, and Frederick was terrified. Just then, he met Christine. Frederick saw Christine and tried to take advantage of the situation. He lied to her, saying that he had come to save her. But Paul, who had learned to distinguish between truth and lies because of Aspen, exposed Frederick's lie. He told Christine, "He's not here to save you, he's lying. He wants to marry you and kill you, so that he can rule your kingdom after you're gone." Christine got very angry upon hearing this. Without thinking, she struck Frederick on the head with a bone, knocking him unconscious. Christine then asked Paul, "Who are you?" Paul replied, "I am Aspen's brother." Hearing this, Christine remembered Aspen and became happy. She asked Paul, "Will Aspen come to save us?" Paul assured her, "He will definitely come." Meanwhile, Aspen and Pierre were preparing to enter the demon's cave. Aspen took a glass jar, collected some fireflies, and used their light to make the jar work like a torch. With the help of this light, the two brothers entered the demon's cave. However, the cave was very large with many paths. They chose one path with the light of the fireflies and proceeded. To avoid getting lost, they tied a thread to a stone and ventured further inside. However, Aspen's foot slipped, and he almost fell into a pit. At that moment, he hung onto his magical sword, and when he looked down, he saw that the pit was very deep. Below, he saw Paul and Christine, and Aspen and Pierre were happy to see them. Aspen told Pierre that they were down there, and Pierre quickly pulled Aspen up. Then, with the help of a rope or Aspen's sword, they managed to pull Paul and Christine up too. Now, they had to get out of the demon's cave, but the only exit was the one through which the demon had entered, and the demon was still sleeping there. To escape, they would have to cross over its tail. The four of them tried to sneak past the demon, but they were all very scared. With great courage, they continued, but then, it was Frederick's turn. As he tried to cross the demon's tail, he accidentally bumped into it, waking the demon up. The demon started chasing them, and they all ran towards the top of the cave, where the exit was. However, in the process, Frederick slipped and fell, while Aspen and the others reached a hilly area. The demon, struggling to climb the mountain, continued to pursue them. Aspen then took out his magical sword and tried to fight the demon, but the demon was huge and powerful. Aspen attacked its foot, injuring it, and in return, the demon attacked Aspen in anger. Aspen's sword was knocked from his hand and fell off the mountain. Now, they had no weapon to fight the demon. In a panic, Christine started throwing rocks at the demon, but they had no effect. The demon, preparing to devour them, moved closer. At that moment, Aspen remembered the witch's warning that the demon would turn to stone in the sunlight. The first rays of the sun were about to appear. Aspen quickly grabbed a broken mirror and positioned it in such a way that the first ray of sunlight would reflect off it and hit the demon. As soon as the sunlight touched the demon, it screamed and turned to stone. Christine pushed it, and the demon fell to the ground and shattered. Meanwhile, Frederick had survived the fall and was making his way through the forest when he met a witch. He asked her for directions to the princess's kingdom. The witch, smiling at him, deliberately misdirected him, sending him back into the same cave where she fed him a golden apple, taking him under her control. The next day, the group arrived safely at the palace. The king was overjoyed to see his daughter and thanked the brothers for saving her, promising them a reward. However, they only asked for enough money to fix their home. After receiving the reward, Christine and Aspen exchanged smiles and returned home. Back home, their father was waiting for them and was thrilled to see his sons alive. He apologized to Aspen, and Aspen gave his father the reward money. The father was overjoyed to see so much money. One day, Christine visited Aspen. They looked at each other, and then, riding their horses, they went for a ride in the forest. And so, the story ends. And with that, the journey of Aspen, Pierre, Christine, and their brave actions came to an end. As they found peace and happiness, the bonds of family and friendship were stronger than ever. Though they had faced many challenges, their courage and determination saw them through. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting tales. Until next time, take care, and may your heart always stay as brave as Aspen's.